Hi, and welcome to the Future Proof Podcast. We do this podcast every couple of months, and we chat about the things that we've been working on and the stuff that we're planning that we want you to know about. I'm Gregory Avery Weir.
And I'm Melissa Avery Weir, and it's a new year! Happy 2024!
We went a little quiet over the holidays, as I think is sensible. We've had our streams on hold and some other things, but now that we're not dealing with travel and other holiday stuff, we're back to a normal schedule. So Melissa, you had I think a great streaming Venba last Saturday that should be at some point archived on our YouTube channel, Future Proof Games. We do those Future Proof plays, as we call them, every couple weeks. The next time I'm doing a game called Grime, which looks really weird and creepy and cool. Our normal communication schedule and so on should be resuming. So you'll be getting podcasts probably every couple months, and newsletters on the months you don't get podcasts if we've got stuff to talk about. So you can sign up to the newsletter via email if you want. But we generally talk about stuff in both places.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Back business is normal again for 2024. And at some point, I will remember to start putting 2024 on dates instead of 2023. It will probably take until July.
I try to write the date at least once every day. So that transition is going faster for me, luckily.
It seems like a good practice. I may just do that as a routine.
Yeah.
And with the new year brings another new cycle to our activities that's not entirely future-proof related.
That's true. So we talked back in November about how in Before the Future Came, which is our Star Trek podcast, the writer strike had ended. All of the SAG-AFTRA stuff had been resolved, and so we have returned to Star Trek in the new year. So our January episode was on the movie Star Trek First Contact, which was a joy to have released out into the world. We recorded it last summer.
Yeah.
And then sat on it. And so our next episode, which will come out in February, is on a Star Trek Voyager episode that has a theme that links to First Contact. So the specifics of what our next episode is revealed at the end of an episode when it's recorded. So
yeah. And if you don't have an encyclopedic recall of Star Trek episodes, that's okay. We summarize them. We kind of try and assume that, you probably have seen some Star Trek, but maybe don't know the specific characters or the kind of the state of the plot in the show.
Right. Yep. So that's exciting. It's nice to be back onto a format that's the space we wanted to be in, and it's much easier to watch and talk about movies and TV than it is an entire novel like the Collapsium, which is hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Yeah, we did that prequel season that was books and stories and so on, and that is a lot more work.
It is.
But you can check all of that out at beforethefuture.space, or you can search for Before the Future Came in however you get podcasts.
Yep. And back on the Future Proof Games front, Greg, you have made some significant progress with Exploit Zero Day recently.
Yes, so if you've been following our stuff, you're probably familiar with Exploit Zero Day, which is our puzzle-based hacking game where you're trying to fight injustice and survive under capitalism by hacking systems that are represented by puzzles. We've long been working on Headless Swarm, which is a paid season of story, and we are almost done. We're working on Job 9, and I have gotten almost all of the puzzles done for Job 9. We've been juggling a whole lot of things, and I've finally been able to sit down and work on those. There's just a few left in that cluster of final puzzles, and then we'll be doing our final cleanup and wrap up and stuff to get Headless Swarm done, which is super exciting. No idea when that'll be. It could be any time, but yeah, that's fun. It's a fun cluster because depending on your actions earlier in the story, it's possible that you won't get access to one of the puzzles in the cluster. You're not missing a lot, so don't get nervous about what choices you want to make, but generally speaking, if you've been kind to people, those people will come back and give you a little more, a little leg up on the cluster. And like, it basically lets you skip part of the cluster if you want to, and get an extra puzzle you can do. So don't feel like you're missing out too much if you don't get it. But I like the fact that we designed a thing to be like, yeah, this plays a little differently depending on your actions, which is not, I don't think that's something we've done much before. We've reordered things, but I don't think we've entirely skipped something.
I think you're right. I think this is the first time. And tossing this in here, you also did a cool technical upgrade to EZD recently.
Yeah, this is one of those fun, if you're a developer, you know what I'm talking about. Like, if we did our jobs correctly, you should not notice any difference whatsoever in how the game plays. But we'd long been on an old version of Phaser, which is our kind of library that we use to make the actual puzzle part of EZD, the animations and gamiest parts of it. And we were on an old version of that. And we finally updated to Phaser CE, which is the community edition that's gotten ongoing maintenance. And it hopefully will fix a few little, like, interface issues that have cropped up over the years, and just generally be, faster and quicker loading and things like that.
Yeah. I'm guessing that Phaser had a bunch of shim type stuff, like things where it was compensating for old browsers and sort of wedging in, because we were supporting IE 10 when we
I think we were supporting
this.
IE 8 when we started EZD, and then we finally stopped.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, EZD is old enough at this point that we almost did it in Flash, right? So
yeah,
it's
we considered it.
Yeah, it's had a long time. So Phaser has surely been able to shed a lot of excess cruft over the years as it's been maintained. When you say community edition, this means it's kind of no longer an official version, right? Like the community has taken it over.
It's kind of officially sanctioned. If I remember right, Phaser 2 is the big version that we're using, and there's a new Phaser 3 that the original developers made that's got some additional approaches to it, but it's a big enough transition that it probably wouldn't make sense for us to switch to it. But people, all the other game developers have been using Phaser 2 for years and years and years, have kind of kept it going and kept it polished. And the original developers like, yeah, go ahead, use CE. Like, if you're in Phaser 2, use CE, it's great. Mm-hmm. But they've, I think sensibly, moved on to be like, we want to be able to do more new stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I think that's cool.
And if you want to play some of our old stuff, there is a sale that, when you hear this, should be live.
Yes. So the Humble Holiday Sale? Winter Sale?
Humble Winter Sale 2024, but it's early. It's the winter at the first part of the year, not the last part of the year.
Exactly. So the Humble Winter Sale will be going through February 5th. Ossuary will be about 50% off. And Ossuary, if you have not played it or heard of it or something, it is our first commercially released game, largely developed before there was a Future Proof, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of the seed that grew Future Proof games.
Yeah, and it is a Discordian-inspired, conversation-focused adventure game where your inventory, your backpack, as some would say, are full of sins. And you're freeing these dead souls in this sort of purgatory from misguided virtue, like temperance and justice. It is a lovely game. I primarily did QA and some sort of, producer type,
Yeah, testing and kind of like, management. This is the part that works, yeah.
Yeah. And there's something, I spent more hours in this game than anyone else probably ever will, right? Just by virtue of being a tester. But it has sort of an oddly warm feeling to it. The audio in particular is something I love. Like the crunchy sounds when you're walking. And the way the little pings are done. Like, often when I play a ton of a game, there's gonna be some sound that annoys the hell out of me. Something. Like, any Zelda game, anything where you spend tens and tens of hours, there's gonna be something in it. And I think Ossuary's audio is outstanding. The writing is, of course, outstanding. I think it's
thank you.
22,000 words. It's a
that
solid
sounds
novella.
Like like a correct number.
Yeah. The writing is, like I said, the writing's outstanding. The characters are funny. I just think it's a real joy and a gem of a game. So it's a great time to pick it up. And if you get it on Humble, let's see, it is DRM free, but you also get a Steam key, I'm pretty sure.
So if you want it on discount, you'll be able to play it on Steam and there's Steam achievements and trading cards and so on. But you'll also be able to access the DRM free copy that is on Humble.
Yeah. So, through February 5th.
Yeah, the links will be in the show notes to that and to all the other stuff that we've talked about. And you can find all of our stuff at futureproofgames.com. If we are recently on Co-Host, which is a great alternative social network if you're tired of the nonsense that is Twitter. We're on Co-Host at cohost.org/FPG. And you can also find us on YouTube if you search for Future Proof Games. That'll have the archives of the Future Proof Plays streams that we do on our personal Twitch accounts. If you've got any questions or comments on our work or about what's coming up or anything like that, you can reach out to us in the comments on our blog. You can reach out to us on Co-Host. You can email us at info@futureproofgames.com, and we'd love to hear from you. If you think that you will be bothering us because of all the waves of feedback we get, we really don't get that much. Feel free to contact us. We'll definitely read it and we'll probably reply. Our theme music for our podcast is Juparo by Broke for Free, which is used with permission.